Well, I mean, you know me, Brad, I work at Sask Energy. I grew up in Regina, moved here in 1968. Had the university built over the top of my bicycle. We live in Hillsdale, and when we were growing up in Hillsdale, that was the edge of town. You could see the prairie from there. 23rd Avenue, which is a divided road now with streetlights, used to be a gravel road with wood sidewalks. I am. And we didn't move very far away. We've had opportunities to leave the city, but it is good here. So for me, you know, I've been, like I said, I've been here since 1968. The only concern I have is that Regina doesn't continue to grow, continue to prosper. I hear a few people say, I like it the same as it is. You know, it's a nice, small community. Well, it's not really all that small. It's a whole bunch of small communities. But I would be concerned that it doesn't continue to grow, because growth brings so many new things and exciting things that I hope to see in Regina. I have concerns about the city. We had not a water outage, but please don't use so much water. We've got streets that are crumbling. We've got lots of expenses that are coming. You know, I'm an industrial engineer, right? I see the infrastructure around me and it concerns me. So there's some issues there that I want to have some really hard discussions about. I'm also concerned that we have a place that's safe, really safe. I talked about 1968, right, edge of community, and the university built on my bike. I would be able to leave my house all day as a little kid and be safe. I've been worried about my kids, where they go, and how long they're out, and whether they're safe. And I want not to worry. I want to save them.
My name is Chris, and I just live right over there. We're here because my friend said so. Well, it was you, right? That's right. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I can ramble on about, you know, the infrastructure, and I don't see like Fred, but I feel it when I'm driving around. You know, the roads. Okay, that's just an automatic one. There's the roads. What's going to happen with our entertainment complex or new stadium? I mean, there's going to be another issue there, and its growth. The whole aspect about innovation. Yeah, we came from Saskatoon about 2.5-ish years ago. We see some things up in Saskatoon that are very beneficial, that are happening. Not too sure why, but it's something to do with their budgeting, or they're actually trying to generate revenue somehow with land development and stuff like that. Oh, there's my daughter Caroline.
Oh, hi, how are you doing? Welcome.
So there's something playing within Saskatoon that may be a good model, or to model against other cities as well, on innovation. Because when we came to Regina, it was like, we're seeing burnt out lights. Lights just drive me nuts. Because there's the infrastructure and it's burnt out, and that one's burnt out over there. I see almost like it's dilapidated. The infrastructure comes springing right up, and then it's not looked after. And so I'm a pet peeve for me.
Like Chris said, we moved here 2.5 years ago. I really like this neighborhood. It's lovely. We've met really good families here. To meet more neighbors, we host every third week approximately a social night, evening night, to kind of come together as a neighbor and get to know each other. We kind of had that experience in Saskatoon, so we kind of brought that back here, and it just makes you aware of who your neighbors are. If you see somebody walking down the street, you can say hi by their name. It just creates that safety feeling, and our girls grew up in that, so we wanted to do that here, and it's been working so far. In terms of, for me personally, I am self-employed. I do fitness classes for older adults, and what I've seen here in Regina is that we are really behind in the health. I don't know if that's part of, right. But you know, we're at least 20 years behind in terms of what the older adult physical activity for older adult, and that was really it's been a growing thing for me, because I really seen the difference between the two cities and how it's really a disservice to our older population. As you know, as they get older, they go into long-term home or more in the hospital, and it's sort of forgotten. And I think that we need to do more in community to keep them longer living at home in community, healthy. And for me, it's all about physical activity. That's sort of my specialty. So it's been a growing, and I think it's moving, but very slow. And like Chris says, I don't know what the difference is. Why in Saskatoon they have this phenomenal program for older adults, but we don't have it here. So, there's that, and it's just the thinking. And like you say, I'm really glad to hear your innovative idea about bringing Regina up to meet what's going out and what's coming. So I'm excited.
My name is Woody Likey, and I am a local businessman. I live actually just outside of the city, and I do a bunch of business in the city for 30-ish years or so. I'm like Fred, I moved here in '69, and we live about 20K out of the city, and have done the majority of our business careers in property management, buying, selling, building, a little bit of development, that sort of thing. My main concern here, I think, is really just the challenge of the growth. We lived through that entire flat period of 25 years where nothing happened, and we were all very disheartened by it all. We're very excited about what's happened in the last few years, but the challenges that are coming with the city as far as the managing the growth concern me a little. And I'm also very interested in the way we're going to position ourselves for the future. For example, not far from me, the Vale is a Brazilian mining company that's announced a $10 billion project that's going to start in next year. Now, $10 billion within 20 kilometers of the city is a Regina city issue. I know the people in my town think that it's a chrono issue, but it's not.
It's a regional problem. Yeah,
absolutely. And the challenges that we have now with housing and infrastructure and how we're going to address that, it sort of contradicts a bit with, as a developer, I'm trying to work with some of the property on the fringe of the city, and finding that there's some real serious problems of communication between the city of Regina and the RM of Sherwood, which surrounds the city like a donut. And I understand that there's long-term issues, but they've been trying for 9 years to get an official community plan in place, and it just seems like they're arguing with one another over fringe development. In the meantime, nobody develops anything because it's all zoned agricultural. And when you talk about growth and managing it, it just seems to me that there could be more collaborative approach. It's not all the city's fault, but it's certainly not all the RM's fault either. And somewhere in the middle, I remember just one particular development we're working on. On a 5-acre piece, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of taxes that are not being collected because we just can't get the zoning changed so we can build something. And that seems to me kind of counterproductive, because if we're talking about the city being short of funds and needing to fix streets and roads and build, it just seems that it would be more, let's do this in a more collaborative, more productive atmosphere. And I guess I'm interested in just how that can happen. I'm not sure that there's anything in particular that's really wrong with the city, but I'm concerned that we might manage the next decade poorly.
That's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. That's why my platform is based on 3 things. The media is asking me, so Meka, what are you going to do? Where's your platform? This and that. I'm like, just chill. Chill. This is a marathon. It's not, I'm not going to come here and give you all my 10 points and we go home and relax. But there are three fundamental things I see. For everything that we're going to do or we're going to propose in this election, there are 3 things we see. The first is long-term thinking. How do we ensure that we embrace the opportunities of today? But at the same time, how do we make sure that we're going to win tomorrow? That we think about those coming after us, so that the growth that we have today will not become a hindrance to them tomorrow. Because we use all the water to, mine out all we can mine, then we have no water in our cities. And you know what happens to cities that have no water? They decline. The next point is engagement. I want to hear this. I don't want to be a mayor that sits down on the 15th floor in City Hall. And I just have some guys around me that tell me exactly what I want to hear. I want to be in the neighborhood, engaging people with real ideas. So you guys say you have this. You guys form an association. Let's get a solution and let's work together to get this solved. I want you guys to give me solutions to the issues that you see. I want real concrete ideas. I want us debating ideas actively. I will come down and sit down with you guys. If you call me and say you have this idea, I will come down and we'll sit down together. I will come and meet you. I don't believe in a city hall that says you have to come to me. I want to be able to reach you on your mobile phones. I want to be able to reach you, on your computers. I want to be able to come to you in your homes and talk. That's why the home hall started. The whole idea was to get in touch. This is my commitment to engagement. It's not just for elections. I told these guys when we first started, this is not just about these elections. If we're doing this to win. And if we win, we better have a plan to make sure that this, what we see is going to happen. So this is not just about winning elections. It's about how do we deliver on what we promise. The third thing is about transparency. In everything that we do, how can we be transparent? How do we ensure that people understand exactly where we're in the process? How do we ensure that people have ownership of their government? We call it the LET model. That's what we call it. Everything we've done is original stuff. We haven't looked at any textbook, but this is really drawn on things that we've observed in our own lives. I'll give you an example. When you sit down as a family to plan for the future, you move from Saskatoon to Regina. You have to think long term. Where will my daughters go to school? What will they do? How do we ensure that we buy a house? You're thinking long term. Don't just plan for today. Let's spend the money right now and do this. No. And then you call your family together and you have these discussions with one another. So what do you say if we do this and we do that? Oh no, I don't like that, Dad. I love this stuff. That's a great idea. Oh yeah, let's do this. Engagement. And then you're transparent. You build a culture of trust within the family. You're transparent about what you do. And it's common sense. What I'm proposing is not, it's common sense. If just step back and look at how life works. It's just common sense. So this platform is a common sense platform. It's about, let's build the foundations right. If we take the same thing we do in our lives every single day and apply it to government, I can assure you that these are principles. These are principles. I've seen them over and over. In every area I've worked in every sector, I have used these principles and I've had good results. So I know they are principles, I know they work. And this election is not just about having a mayor. I want you guys to know that when you go to the poll on October 24th, you have to select your councillors. You have to. You can't just, it's not about the mayor. This is an election about creating your city council. If we don't have the right people on city council, then it's going to be difficult to do many of the things we're talking about. We need the right people.